ABCD.
Hello, happy campers.
Hello.
Spike here. Chris there.
I'm here.
We are geeking out, more or less.
My body's sore. And I'm
Chris is all sore. He's all tired. We took a week off because the beloved and I got busy. It's been an adventurous week, but we're back and we're geeking out. So we have stuff to talk about. We actually do, incredibly enough. But
it's just the way you said that.
It's been an adventurous week. We've been all over the Midwest, but we're back. We're back. I actually do have 2 reviews to do, but neither one of them are movies anybody's seen recently. But the first one we're going to talk about is actually I'm not even reviewing a movie. I'm reviewing an experience.
Ooh.
I am going to be doing a review of Star Wars: A New Hope at the Kentucky Theater. It was a one-night stand. This past Wednesday, we're recording on Sunday, June 12th, 2022, for those of you keeping record. So this past week, the Kentucky Theater is pretty much one of the oldest theaters in Kentucky, thus the Kentucky Theater. I believe it turns 100 this year. So, as a part of their celebration, they're showing classic movies on Wednesday nights. And they're currently undergoing the Summer Classic series, and this past week it was Star Wars: A New Hope. The real Star Wars, the first Star Wars, the first actual Star Wars. You know, the one where, it wasn't the one where Han shot first. This was the George Lucas wet dream version that he did back in the 90s when he started doing the prequels, and he added all the extra little junk into A New Hope. This is the one where Greedo shot first. So it wasn't perfect, but hey, I'm not going to quibble because it was still Star Wars. The review I have is for the experience the beloved and I had at the Kentucky Theater. Now, ordinarily, I buy tickets ahead of time, so I can make sure I've got the tickets. And yes, I'm an old fart. I'm in my 50s. I do print out electronic tickets, so it has the little 3D barcode that prints out and stuff. You're supposed to just have it on your phone and just show it so you can go in and stuff. No, I'm printing it out. And apparently I'm not the only one, because there was a poor lady standing there in the lobby who was taking the tickets, the printouts from everybody, so that way she could account for people coming in and stuff. The Kentucky Theater, the reason I'm bringing up this poor lady in the lobby, because she had to stand there all night long and attempt to direct traffic at the Kentucky Theater. Now, the TKT, the Kentucky Theater, they call it TKT, because they're trying to be edgy and stuff, but this place has a capacity of 816 people, according to Wikipedia, so your mileage varies there. It has a capacity of 816 people, and it's sold out. It has a capacity of 816 people. It's not designed to move 816 people. I don't think the Kentucky Theater realized just how many people are going to turn out. I don't have a count on how many people they turned away at the box office. But not everybody who wanted in got in. In order to get into the Kentucky Theater, now remember, it was built in 1922.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Kentucky Theater, in order to get to the theater itself, the lobby has its concession stand. The concession stand is basically a bar. The bar is about probably 15 feet long, about 6 feet deep. And you have about 10 feet of clearance between the bar, the concession stand, and the wall opposite, because there's a secondary, smaller theater screen that's opposite the, I was about to say the concession stand, and that was showing some art house film, and I think there might have been 3 people in that. Everybody else wanted to see Star Wars. Problem is, everybody wanted popcorn, they wanted sodas, they wanted beers, they wanted wine, because you can actually buy wine and beer at this theater, okay? So, in order for the crowd to reach the theater, they had to get past all the people standing in line, 4 stations at the concession stand, each one with its own disorganized line, and you had to basically have this little trickle of people going around the far wall in order to reach the theaters. Now, we got there, the show time was at 7:15. We got there about a half hour early. Okay. We got into the theater about 6:55, so it wasn't so bad. And then after we get our seats, because the lady taking the ticket suggested we get seats right away, and that way somebody is there to guard the seats while the other one gets the concessions. So I go back out to get the concessions. There's no way in the world I'm reaching the concession stand. Because again, no organization. Now, the Kentucky Theater has a reputation for being, I don't know, what do you call filmophiles, cinephiles? For movie geeks like you would love the Kentucky Theater because it just has so much history and stuff.
Yeah.
But
totally.
And it's still got the original fixtures that have been restored. The seats are new, but you pretty much have to because they were like bleacher seats before. But it's a nice setup. It's a beautiful place, and you can tell that they've been raising donations and stuff to try to restore it and everything. So it's basically like the community, the cinephile community of Lexington, Central Kentucky, has been trying to rehab the Kentucky Theater. My first complaint, and it's a good thing I didn't post a review after we got done, because for one thing, we didn't get out of there until about 10 o'clock. But I'll explain that in a minute. But I already have a low opinion of drivers in Lexington because I have to deal with them so much. Okay. Lexington, there are, in all the places I've been in, I can think of 2 places that have worse drivers than Lexington. Okay. And that's Washington, D.C. and New York. Okay. New York drivers are the absolute worst. Washington, D.C. drivers just don't care. Cincinnati drivers are actually halfway decent, but they'll just follow about 2 inches off your rear bumper wherever they go because they're idiots. But they're not necessarily bad drivers, just morons. Lexington drivers, I hate Lexington drivers. And these Lexingtonians in this Kentucky Theater, in the concession scrum, I'll say, biggest bunch of jerks you ever seen in your life. Just cannot get organized, sitting there cutting each other off, jostling, and just generally being jerks. So I actually made 2 attempts at the concession stand. The beloved actually sends me a text, says they're getting ready to start. You need to come in here and take your seat. I finally give up at 7. It's a little after 7:15. I go, give up, leave the concession stand for the second time to go sit down. And I have to climb over somebody with a cane. I have to climb over some other lady in order to reach the beloved and sit down. We've got there's 1 empty seat in the entire row, and then somebody comes and fills that one because they have to climb over us to get to it. But once the movie starts, then everybody starts cheering and everything. And the best part is, before the movie starts, you actually have a real, honest to goodness, and I don't know if it's Wurlitzer or not, but they have an actual organ player at the Kentucky Theater to play along with silent films when they screen them. But he's also there to play different songs and stuff before the movie starts to keep people entertained. So the organ player is sitting there and he's playing little snips from Star Wars before the movie starts, and every time he starts, everybody starts going yay and everything. And then,
okay, time out.
Yes.
Time out.
Go right ahead.
So this place is getting donations to fix up the theater.
Mm-hmm.
But they can afford somebody to sit there.
No, the organ player is a volunteer.
Oh.
I believe he's a volunteer.
Oh, okay.
But
I was going to say, I was like,
Well, here's the other thing too. Now this is one of their Summer Classic Series tickets for like $6 a piece.
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever heard of stadium seating, or not even stadium seating? It's well, what was it they did? General admission seating. Okay, there are no assigned seats. Now, the problem with that is that they found this out back in Cincinnati around 1979, 1980. If you don't assign seats for a particular performance, you get this scrum going on where people are trying to find seats, any seats they can find. That's the problem here. There was a lack of organization from top to bottom. The getting back to the organ player sitting there, he's getting everything set up. The movie's supposed to start at 7:15. It doesn't start at 7:15 because roughly a fifth of the audience is still standing out, stepping on each other's toes around the concession stands, because nobody at the concession stands can just get a bag of popcorn and put soda in a cup and get people away from the line in under 2 minutes. I'm timing these people. I understand it takes time to pop corn, and I understand with that many people you're constantly running out of corn. But 2 minutes? A 2-minute turnaround at a concession stand? Okay. Now,
how many people was working?
They had 4 and 1 support behind the thing. Each one was working a station. And they had one guy running back and forth, adding more popcorn to the machines and stuff. And remember, these people also all have to, they're not bartending necessarily, but there are people buying like glasses of wine and bottles of beer, and it's not just cups of soda, but they offer like IBC by the bottle. So that's like root beer, black cherry, stuff like that by the bottle. Bottled water, all kinds of stuff, candy and all these other things. But 2 minutes to clear your average customer, and it's no wonder it's backed up. But we'll get back to that in a minute. So everybody enjoyed the organ player. I like the organ player and stuff. I'd love to go in there and see a silent movie sometime with that organ player playing in the background, because I think that would be a trip. Something like a Buster Keaton movie would be awesome, or Charlie Chaplin. But anyway, once the movie actually started, everybody got to their seats. We started 15 minutes late. They had people coming up and talking in order to keep the audience engaged while they were trying to clear the concession stands. Never did quite completely clear the concession stands. They were busy all night long. But by the time the movie started, they had announced that they had validation stickers for the parking, because the nearest parking for the Kentucky Theater, you can park on the street, but there's like maybe a total of a dozen spaces on the street, and you're parking on Main Street in Lexington. It's one of the busiest streets in town. Do you really want to take that chance? So the nearest parking is a parking structure called the Helix, which is about a block down. They call it the Helix because the exit ramps are all circular helix, kind of like a DNA strand would look. So they finally announced that they were offering validation stickers. That cuts your parking price from $3 to $1.50. And I'm like, how hard is it going to be to get a hold of one of these things? Because just trying to get popcorn and a soda was impossible. But meh. So we get through the movie, and of course everybody loves the movie. We are surrounded by Star Wars geeks.
Oh, yeah,
on all sides, of course. And the beloved, she's a Chewbacca fan, has been a Chewbacca fan since it came out in '77. She saw the big teddy bear, and she's just been hooked on Chewbacca ever since. So she's enjoying herself. I'm enjoying myself once I finally finish settling down, because, you know, I'm like Popeye when I'm in a crowd. I'm just ready to start slugging people. So we get through the movie and going through all the beats and everything, and people are cheering. The beloved points out that it's kind of like, I think it was a Progressive commercial. Have you ever seen the commercial for Progressive Insurance about people who are turning into their parents? So
yes.
they're printing out the internet and stuff. And there's one where they're at a theater, and one of the when the psychiatrist's client stands up and starts applauding at the end of the movie, and he's like, "None of the people who made the movie are here. So why are you applauding?" But that's what the beloved was reminded of at the end, because when of course when the Death Star blew up, everybody stood up and started applauding and stuff. I'm like, oh boy. So, but it was a trip. It was probably the closest thing I've ever gotten to actually attending one of these geek cons or nerd cons or anything like that. The closest I've ever been to a convention atmosphere in this place. It was fun once I got over the initial blood pressure spike, but it was that's my nickname, blood pressure spike. But it was fun. But if there's anybody at the Kentucky Theater listening to this, the next time you can see these coming, especially if you have a geek-centric thing coming, anything Star Wars, if you're showing The Empire Strikes Back, get ready for this all over again. Or if you're showing any of the big, huge landmark films, then you'll probably go through this. You have got to organize a little bit better than that.
Also, does it show on their website like how many people has already bought tickets?
No.
I suggest you do that and add it to the website. That way when people check it out, and this is going also more toward the audience, if they have how many people has already booked tickets, so you know how many people is going to be there, you might want to be more prepared. So it's like, hey, we should get there like an hour early so we can get our stuff and get seated, or something.
Yeah,
that's my suggestion.
To be honest, I think, well, what you got to remember is right around the time, what you may not know is the history of the Kentucky. The Kentucky struggled into the 80s. It became a porn theater for a while. And they finally, the city shut it down. They rebirthed it years later, and then they were making go of it, and the pandemic hit, and their finances just collapsed. Yeah. So this is a new group that's taken over the Kentucky Theater, and they're trying to make a go of it. Like I said, these are basically cinephiles who are doing this not necessarily for fun. They are paying staff and stuff, but it's designed to be an experience. You got to get a little better organized. If you start seeing crowds start coming in through the box office, the guy at the box office, and I'm not saying I'm an expert in any way, shape, or form of theater management. You know more about theater management than I do by this point. But your guy at the box office is your point man. He or she, whatever, needs to keep an eye on who's coming in. How many people are coming through the turnstiles, coming through the doors. If you start seeing a line starting to back up, especially if it persists for more than like say a minute, you need to let management know we've got heavy traffic here. And then management needs to start keeping an eye on things. If your lobby's filling up with customers for the concession stand, you need to start directing traffic around so that all your people going to the theater are going behind the concession stand traffic. Put up some dividers around that concession stand so that people are being directed from the back of the theater, which is where the movie's being shown, across to one of the 4 stations on the concession stands, and then back out the other end where people are coming in off the street so you can carry your stuff with everybody else who's coming in to see the movie. And then what do you do with all the people in the line? You start winding them into the theater and around the perimeter. And if you've gone, and seriously, if they'd done that, this is not a joke. This place has like 25 rows of seats, and there's like 35 rows in each seat. So you've got a good little distance. This line, if it had been single file like it was supposed to be, would have gone all the way into the theater, down around the perimeter or on the far side, underneath the screen, and would have reached the organ player. This is not a joke. That's how many people were in there. And if you had managed to serve all 816 people with the popcorn and sodas they wanted, because a lot of people just gave up, including me, and you know what a popcorn junkie I am. I go to the movies to eat popcorn. if you had done that, they made at $6 a piece, 816 people, just shy of $5,000 at the box office. Okay, most of that goes to Disney to pay for the showing. Okay, they get a cut of that. The Kentucky Theater makes all their money off the concession stands. How much money did you let walk out the door, Kentucky Theater management, because you didn't have an organized way? I mean, even if people had seen the line go all the way back to the organ player, they would know with 4 stations you would have had constant movement. Yeah. Okay? If everybody's just involved in a scrum, then if one of the people behind the concession stand starts falling behind, everybody else is going to start falling behind, because it's just like dominoes. They're all going to collapse at once because they're going to be tripping over each other. One person at a time being fed into that concession stand would have made all the difference in the world in that experience. I'm not saying that the experience was bad overall. It was actually fun, and I'm not one who likes crowds. Lord, I've rambled on for 20 minutes, but it was a fun experience going to see this at the Kentucky Theater, and they do show different movies. So keep an eye out on, I believe it's KentuckyTheater.org. I'll double check that in a second. But it is one of those things where you want to, you need to get a little better organized, because I tell you what, all these people who actually came in there and came in for that movie, if you and they had 2 showings, one at 1:30 for some insane reason, and one at 7:15. If they had been able to manage things properly, they probably could have made a fortune to help restore this theater. So, yes, it's Kentucky Theater, Theatre.org, because they're French. I don't know, but anyway, it's a theater with R-E at the end. So, Chris, what do you think about my horror stories? Now,
I personally would like to experience something like that for the right movie, of course. And I would probably show up like an hour early, like I said, just to make sure, grab everything I need and sit down, That's my opinion. Sounds like a really cool experience.
Well, I'll say this as a final word on my review. This is more a review of the Kentucky Theater than just Star Wars: New Hope, because Han shot first. It's my count. I would do it again. At the time, on that Wednesday night at 11 o'clock, when the beloved and I are finally going in the house, and we're like, ugh. I wouldn't have done it, but after a little separation between then, yeah, I'd do it again. But I would hope the Kentucky Theater would learn some lessons from this. And they seem like reasonably sharp people. I'm hoping they will learn some lessons from it. Just in case you wanted to know what's coming up at the Kentucky Theater this summer, we've already done Star Wars. A Patch of Blue with Sidney Poitier is coming up this Wednesday at 7. All of these are Wednesday nights at 7 and 1:30 in the afternoon. Goldfinger will be on June 22nd, 2001, A Space Odyssey the week after that, followed by The Big Sleep with Bogey and Bacall, An American Werewolf in London, Disney's Sleeping Beauty of all things, Bonnie and Clyde, Stand By Me, The Man Who Knew Too Much, which is actually a pretty good Hitchcock film, the original West Side Story, Shakespeare in Love, the original Godfather, and The Big Lebowski wraps it up on September 7th. So keep your eyes open at KentuckyTheater.org, and you can actually go ahead and find out info and tickets on most of these too. So.